is a quite long way from Russia to Europe and from Greece to Finland. The largest country in the way is Estonia. And so let's start to push the Estonia smaller. And the devil started to push from southern Estonia, and God started to push from northern Estonia. And in one moment, God noticed that Estonia became too small and said to devil that stop. And, you can see that the devil was a very keen pusher and pushed some hills. But the God also like ironed with his hand the northern Estonia. It's very flat. So some basic geography. And the highest point of Estonia is Eeg Mountain in the southeastern part of Estonia, and its height is only 318 meters. The largest river by the discharge is Narva River. It's actually quite short. I noticed that most of you are from Poland, and Narva River lives its own life because of this Peipsi and Pihkva lake system. The Võnadu River is the longest one in Estonia, 165 kilometers. There is also important Emajõgi, second largest by the basin size is Pärnu River, approximately a border of this discharge area. Fortunately, we have quite good hydrological measurement and monitoring system, and several our hydrological monitoring stations celebrate 100 years. In general, the observed runoff area is about 66% of Estonian territory. So we have quite good data. We will show some graphs, some time series, and my own favorite river is Väike Emajõgi. Again, some basics. This is a long-term annual hydrograph. Here is dates, 1st of year, January, 15th of January, and so on. The typical or from textbook annual hydrograph looks like this. We have 4 distinct hydrological seasons, and this spring maxima is causing floods almost every year, or we used to have this kind of every year. So winter minima is during this winter minima usually Estonian rivers are covered by ice, and then in one happy daily March or April, the snow starts to melt, and usually it starts to melt very fast, and it causes a spring maxima. And we can also put out the formula for catastrophic event or catastrophic spring flood. It starts in autumn already. We need a lot of rain during the autumn, which fulfill soil and groundwater levels. It would be good if this autumn ends with heavy colds. During this winter, we need a lot of snow, and of course we need a sudden and warm spring. And of course, some ice jammings helps a lot. And spring rains sometimes also occur, and this rises water level very fast and very high. Anyway, it's like a textbook sample. We have actually also last month showed us that we had a project that tried to assess regions where this risk for flood is very high, and we have also this kind of map of Estonia. The red dots are those places where this flood risk is quite high. Here you can see quite a lot of dots in the coastal area, though they are mostly affected by the abrupt rise of sea level during the storms cycles. But here in inland we have several very distinct places where this risk is relatively high. Maybe you noticed that Estonia is the population density of Estonia is very small, so mostly those places are inhabited, but still several places near our towns. And we can see from satellite pictures how this spring flood started to appear, develop. Here is an example from the spring of 2010. Here is a large swampy areas of Suur Emajõgi. Here is a Tartu, also the swampy areas in the end of the river. And we can monitor those changes via satellite photos. And here is a picture of Soomaa wetland flooded areas of Soomaa. Anyway, I guess when you visit Soomaa, they will tell you about this fifth season of Soomaa in more details. Here you can see that as it's quite a unique flooding area, the higher the water level, the more activity you can do by using canoes or boats, some kind of water vessels. The tourism of this area is very independent on this spring floodings, and the short output of this those figures, I will not explain them, that there is quite a linear relationship. Higher the water level, more fun for tourists, more visitors, and more money for this area. In Estonia, we have a saying that years are not brothers. I showed you a textbook annual Hydrograph. Then we can have any sort of high waters or floodings. For example, here is a example from 2005, where this very abrupt high water came in the beginning of first days of January. Here is also example from Mait Sepp, the very dry year, and those meteorological seasons can be shifted quite a lot during non-typical years. Here is also an example. We had no high water in the springtime, almost no high water, and again this example from 2005. So the variation, interannual variation in Estonian hydrological system is quite high. And there are also some cycles in this system. There are periods with a lot of water, those dark blue columns. There are also years with no rain and small amount of water in the rivers. But the idea is to show that actually this maximum runoff has decreased during last 100 years. Majority of our rivers show that this river spring maximum has decreased quite a lot. From the year 1867, and this also there is also maximum spring level, water level, and this has very clear periodicity, but the overall trend is negative in that water levels are not so high anymore than it was like 100 or 150 years ago. You can see that at first there is practically no winter minima anymore, no ice cover. The spring maximum occurs less and less often. It starts earlier and has a smaller amplitude. And if we look at the last 30 years and we compare those comparison, then we can say that it's a worsening trend. The risk association with spring floods are decreasing. It's bad news for Soomaa, certainly. Like good news for infrastructure and real estate developments, because we can now build a bit closer to the river. As a climatologist, I like to say that what flows in river comes out from the sky, and we have made some climatological and hydrological assessment what has happened, and something happened in the year 1989 beside this fall of Berlin Wall. Some kind of abrupt shift has happened this year. At least we see that there is more water in this hydrological system in Estonia, mainly in winter. This spring high water has shifted from the start of the spring high water has shifted from April to March. The other issue is flash flood. It's something not very common in Estonia. As you can see here, some statistical signs from some kind of some event. During the spring flood, we have huge areas of which are flooded, but usually those flash floods in summertime, they just are visible in hydrograph, not in real river. But they still appear. This is again a sample of this the same very rainy event in 1987. Those flash floods are usually connected with very active and deep cyclones, which brings a lot of rain during a very short time period, and the hydrographs can jump. Quite a lot of those events are connected with southern cyclones, so-called southern cyclones, which coming from Black Sea or even from Mediterranean, but they are very rare, like once on a 5 years, and they usually have also some cycles that this kind of events are grouped in 1 or 2 years, and there is also that long gap between other cycles. But anyway, they happen. What about future? At first, I would like to show this graph, which was made in the middle of 1990s, when the first project of climate change assessment was made in Estonia. This project also tried to figure out how this water system will change in the future. And they quite well predicted that we will lose the winter minimum, and those spring floods will be not so high anymore. And they predicted that the annual river runoff is expected to increase by 20 to 40% in average in the end of this century. So we can see that this model is quite true even nowadays, already nowadays. 10, not 10 years ago, but 8 years ago, we had the second attempt to look to the future. And here is a model prediction for rainfall using this most dark scenario of IPCC. And they predict that the increase in rainfall will be about 16%. This red bar is extra water or extra rain compared to this normal climate rain amount. However, if you look at Estonian climate, then we can say that the interannual variability is in times greater than this additional 16%. Variability, interannual variability of Estonian rainfall shouldn't be like a problem, actually. However, we can also think that this 16% is more water in this geological system, and probably those extremes are also bigger by 16%. And this far in August and July shows or hints us that there will be more heavy showers, more local floodings probably. And the local urban floods are problems already nowadays. So, in conclusion, we can say that spring floods are a very common phenomenon for Estonia that becomes less of a risk year by year due to this climate change. But still, this threat is not going away because we live quite far north, and we have sometimes lesser and lesser, but still quite hard, cold winters, snowy winters. And the underestimating of those spring floods can have disastrous consequences. Flash floods is still kind of curiosity nowadays. Generalistic events. Of course, we have feel sorry for this car owner, but still those urban flash floods are more like entertainment. It's not a very serious threat yet, but in future. Thank you for your attention.